On April 8th, in Memphis Zoo, people held a giant farewell party to say goodbye to panda named Yaya as their contract with China ended. It looked so friendly and peaceful, right? But not really. Behind this innocent farewell, there was a huge debate a few months ago on Chinese social network. It all started when a post with the videos and the photos of panda Yaya were released online from animal welfare groups. It showed the panda looked mistreated, skinny, and with dull color and a sign of aging and sickness. It gave people an impression that Mr. Kung Fu Panda was not safe in the US. This post was even supported by the pop singer Billie Eilish. It sparked a wave of anger on Chinese social media later, and the people began to demand that Yaya gotta be back home right now. They also accused the Memphis Zoo of lacking humanity and not treating giant pandas with respect. In China, pandas are almost as respectful as national leaders, with private planes for traveling overseas, top zoos equipped with professional breeding teams, and more importantly, huge global impact. So no wonder people were furious about this news. But is it really like that? Today, we're going to seriously talk about Memphis panda and explore the Chinese diplomatic strategy behind. The story begins with a regular business contract. In April 2003, the Memphis Zoo leased two giant pandas from China, and their partnership in the next decade was a huge success. These adorable creatures coming had a huge popularity with the locals, and it also helped promote Chinese culture overseas. As a result, both sides naturally decided to extend the contract for another 10 years, until April 7, 2023. However, things went terrible when one of the pandas, Lolo, died on February 4th before they're back. In terms of the lease contract, Memphis Zoo is required to invite Chinese officials to jointly investigate the cause of death. Then, an autopsy revealed that Lolo died of heart disease, which is not uncommon among the pandas, especially those in their late 20s, which is equivalent to the human beings in their 80s. The pandas in this age are also easy to have other health problems. Furthermore, giant pandas are prone to hereditary diseases, which can cause their fur to be dull and fall out. Because currently pandas are still endangered, many are bred from close relatives, making some hereditary sickness unavoidable. Additionally, pandas become thinner and weaker as they aged because of weakened digestive functions, leading to muscle reduction. And this is the reason why it looks like that. Based on these medical findings, it's clear that Memphis Zoo did not mistreat their pandas. However, some animal welfare groups in the United States, like Panda Voices, have been accusing American zoos of mistreating Chinese pandas for years. They argue that these pandas are usually kept in a narrow room for over 10 hours a day, eating only bamboo and lacking adequate living space. These organizations demand these zoos must return the pandas to China, where they can live back to their natural habitats. However, they don't realize it's impossible that not all of these pandas can be back to their original habitats, for many of them have been kept in Chinese zoos since they were born. Moreover, due to China's network firewall, many Chinese people have limited access to information from U.S. Animal Welfare Organization and autopsy report from Memphis Zoo, leading to misunderstanding of the facts. Finally, it made a regular business accident become a heated debate about animal rights. In the past, there were similar rumors of American Zoo mistreating Chinese giant pandas. However, these were mostly created by media reports and expert explanations. But this time, something was different. The voices of the experts were deliberately or maybe intentionally buried on the social media. Meanwhile, the anger and misunderstanding were pushed to the headline and stayed on top searching rankings. Even been mentioned by one of China's major state media, the Global Times, which openly declared that the US should care about the feelings of Chinese people. Wow, what a serious accusation. This incident has turned initially a business case into a diplomatic controversy, which is closely relative to the tense relationships between China and the US. As we know, in January of this year, the news of a Chinese spy balloon discovered in American airspace became the headline globally, and China faced accusation from America. In fact, in global conflict between superpowers, mutual surveillance and spy actions are not very strange. There has always been the case in history, whether it was the short appearance of Chinese warships on the west coast of the US, or the US unmanned submarine caught by the Chinese Navy in the South China Sea. However, in 2023, as the Chinese balloon became big news, it became a loss for the Chinese government in the short term. So, it is urgent for them to find another breakthrough from the US side and get another victory for the balloon incident. The death of Lula, the giant panda, in February became a good excuse. The story of pandas at Memphis Zoo finally ended because of the tense relationships between two superpowers, which is also an impact of the current new Cold War. So the new question is, why did pandas choose to come to Tennessee? Interestingly, Tennessee was not the first place in the US to have pandas. Sully, the first giant panda in America, was caught in 1936 and finally bought by Brookfield Zoo in Chicago. In 1972, after President Richard Nixon ended a hostile relationship with China, the first pair of pandas came to National Zoo in Washington, D.C. As a southern state, Tennessee is not a well-known place in China like Cali or New York. However, here we have to mention an important person, former Tennessee State Senator and U.S. Ambassador to China, Jim Sasser. He was elected as Tennessee Senator with 3 consecutive times. When Chinese President Jiang Zemin visited America in the 1990s, he met Jim and then they became close friends. Jiang even called him my old friend. Later, from 1996 to 1999, Jim served as the U.S. ambassador to China. In 1999, the U.S. mistakenly bombed the Chinese embassy in Kosovo War, which stirred up patriotic emotions in China, and the embassy was attacked fiercely by the local citizens in Beijing. Jim Sasser was trapped inside the embassy at the time. After the incident, he returned to Tennessee and became a government consultant. Even though he's been retired as a senior senator, he still had influence in the local communities. Then, time came to the 21st century. The new Chinese ambassador to the U.S., Yang Jiechi, began to lobby for China's accession to the WTO in America. If without agreement of the United States, which is the leader and also the designer of the WTO, it would be impossible for China to join it. So one of the important things to improve China's image in the US and repair national relationships since 1999. At this point, Chinese old friend Jim Sasser proposed that the Chinese government can bring a pair of pandas to Tennessee, which could not only create tourism revenue and jobs for the state, but also help improve China's image. Therefore, Memphis Zoo became one of the few zoos in the whole America to have panda. When the story came here, we can clearly see who the panda were released to, or how long to reign, or whether the Chinese government decided to approve. It mostly depends on diplomatic relations. From the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949 until China improved the relationship with the West in 1972, China only gave pandas to the Soviet Union and North Korea. At that time, many foreign zoologists had nearly no research of pandas because they only limited in China. In 1957, after Nikita Khrushchev visited China, the Chinese government gave the Soviet Union a pair of pandas for the first time, as gratitude to their socialist ally and also their big brother. Interestingly, Russia's animal experts knew nothing about pandas and mistakenly thought China gave them 2 male pandas. Disappointingly, they sent one back. North Korea, as China's dear comrade and brother, was also gifted pandas to show their special relationship and brotherhood. However, after China's relationship with the Soviet Union deteriorated in the 1960s, North Korea chose to keep away from China. Of course, mainly because the Soviet Union gave more assistance to North Korea than China did. This pair of pandas finally disappeared from history, and no one knows what happened then. In 1972, the year that changed the history both China and the United States, the famous filthy leader of American imperialist former US President Richard Nixon visited China. As gifts to China, he brought a pair of oxen and, more precious, 1 gram of moon dust. Since some gifts were not announced in advance, the Chinese government had been considering how to reciprocate. But later, Pat Nixon, the wife of Richard Nixon, her behavior gave Chinese officers inspiration. On her first day in China, she went directly to the Beijing Zoo to see pandas and also bought a bunch of panda toys in the store. At the moment, a mature and beautiful lady became an innocent child, which also surprised the Chinese around her. So, at the welcome dinner that night, Chinese Prime Minister Zhou Enlai tried to talk to Pat Nixon. At first, Zhou pointed to the cigarette box with the panda cover and asked her if she liked it. But she thought he was asking if she smoked and plainly said no. But Zhou continued, "I mean the real panda." Pat Nixon was very excited, repeatedly asking Zhou if he was serious. Well, perhaps he was thinking doesn't he need approval from Congress? Zhou told her, "We would definitely give the American people a pair of real giant pandas." Then China sent pandas to the Western world for the very first time. When this pair of pandas arrived in the US, they were welcomed with almost a crazy enthusiasm. More than 8,000 people were waiting at the airport when the pandas arrived by the private plane. On the first day of pandas exhibition in the zoo, over 20,000 people were there to see them. And so far, Smithsonian's National Zoo in Washington, D.C. is still one of the zoos that have the privilege to lease panda. Moreover, during the process of exhibition in Washington, there were many Chinese national flags or titles with the People's Republic of China around the pandas area. Back in the days, these titles were totally equivalent to openly promoting communism in the United States. And the US have not ceased conflict with China yet. But most Americans seem to ignore all the stuffs, which also made the Chinese government realize that panda could transcend political and ideological disagreement. Lastly, in the 1970s, for its poverty, China didn't have many surprising culture projects, so panda is the best option. Despite the US is the first Western country to lease Chinese panda. In fact, among the countries, Japan is absolutely craziest fan of giant panda. In 1972, after Richard Nixon leaving China, Japan rapidly built an official relationship with China, and then leasing panda became a nice option for showing friendship. Based on the coming massive investment from Japan, Chinese government selected the best pair of pandas nationally and quickly finished the preparation to Japan. When pandas arrived in Tokyo, the treatment is nearly like national leaders coming. On the way from airport to the zoo, they were guarded with police vehicles and hundreds of policemen. Meanwhile, numerous people waited on the roadside. Things went more bizarre when pandas exhibited in the zoo. Authorities have to arrange visit by lottery, so many people have to wait months to finally get a chance to see panda, but limited in 30 seconds one time. Yes, no kidding, just 30 seconds. Later, according to the huge passion of visit, zoo authority changed the rule to let people line up to visit. And just like what happened in front of an Apple or luxury store, A lot of people line up from midnight and wait outside for long. What happened in Japan finally made the Chinese government set a giant panda as part of their diplomatic promotion. Later, a series of Chinese diplomatic actions have panda elements inside. For example, when Obama decided to meet Dalai Lama at White House in 2010, China immediately reclaimed its panda, which caused huge loss for the local zone. In 2012, France finally got agreement to share nuclear technology with China and build nuclear power station together. And that was also the year when a pair of pandas came to Beauvais zone in France. Thank you, my French buddy. You give me the tag, and I share panda with you. Moreover, the name of giant panda sometimes have some political meaning behind. You know, the name given to panda must be under approval by Chinese government. When a pair of pandas came to Taiwan in 2008, their name was Tuan Tuan and Yuan Yuan, which means reunion in Chinese. Well, it sounds like a provocation against the many supporters of Taiwan independence. It was naturally against by senators from Taiwan parliament, but they finally accepted for its huge popularity and business value. Even though cost of each giant panda is over $1 million with many extreme lease terms, the popularity is still unstoppable. In fact, with the better relationship between China and Africa, some African countries were looking for a leasing panda too. But according to American African countries' economic ability, Chinese government have not agreed yet. So far, the threat level of panda has been moved from critical endangered to endangered, as their number has been over 2,000 globally. It doesn't change its Chinese official definition as national treasure. Also, it's still not easy to let more countries join in feeding pandas for its special tag and huge diplomatic value. And also, I believe popularity to panda still continues, but maybe the best way to treat panda is to let it back to where it's supposed to be, the regular wild animal. And that would be a better way for human beings to live with the adorable creature. Thank you for watching and see you next time.